and I have to hit the record button. There's a lot to do when you're doing the podcast. So I think we're live on Facebook. I'll find out when I go back and look later, and then I'm upset because it didn't work. But I got to introduce you guys to my friend Jenny Barnett, and she is the owner of Hodgepodge of Helpfulness. I guess I hadn't practiced saying that 3 times fast. And she is a professional organizer, but I always like to talk about how I know people. And Jenny reminded me before we went live here how I know her. And I actually met her years ago when I was just starting my makeup business, and I did a pinup like photo shoot, like you could, or makeup lesson and photo shoots. You could come and like take this makeup lesson, and then I had a photographer there and did pictures, and Jenny showed up with like the victory roll in her hair and the outfit and everything, and she definitely was the overachiever in the room. I'll say that.
It's kind of what I do.
I was gonna say, have you always been the overachiever in the room? Is that like
it's
part
my
of who
thing?
you are?
If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it big.
Do it big, do it right. I have huge respect for that. You know, I did transform myself into the Tiger King earlier this year, complete with the mullet. So I understand. So Jenny, I then got to know Jenny after she attended one of my conferences, and she invited me to coffee. And what I didn't know about Jenny when she attended my conference was that she was really thinking about starting her own business. And she was like, I want to like invite you to coffee and let you know that I'm getting this business started, and like give me information. And I have never been so blown away by a couple of things. I do a lot of mentoring with business owners, and most of the time they start from zero, have nowhere to start, nowhere to know where to go. And Jenny had done a ton of research, and she not only had a bunch of things checked off of her list of things to do to start her business, but y'all would be like in awe of how her color-coded planner looks.
Oh, I love me a good planner. Just love it.
So what's your favorite planner? Let's just start there so people know.
My go-to planner is the Nourish planner. I like it because it gives you 3 to 5 goals a day to be able to focus on, and then you don't get overwhelmed, and then you can feel like you accomplished something. I'm one of those people that if I don't get something, if I can't tangibly see that something has been accomplished, I will write something on the list that I've already done so that I can cross it off.
I can relate to that remark.
It's who I am.
Sometimes I never get anything accomplished that I pre-wrote on the list.
Right? That's why you need erasable markers, pens. Your pens, you can erase it and then put what you want in there. Yes, they're a thing.
Do you? Okay, I'm going to need a list after this is over of the things that you use, and I'm not even joking. So thank you very much. Okay, so before you became a professional organizer and helping people, and we'll kind of talk about that in a minute, like tell me about like your life, where you grew up, and what got you to like this place of, well, like what you were doing anyway before you were being an organizer, because I think that's a pretty remarkable story too.
Yeah, so I am originally from Waterloo. I went to school in Cedar Falls, and then I ended up working in the nonprofit field for about 18 years. I kind of did a little bit here and there of all sorts of different stuff. I worked at a food bank, I worked at a youth shelter, I worked at a residential facility. Right out of college, I ended up working at a food bank, and then I ended up going to get my master's degree. And while I was getting my master's degree, I kind of got burnt out. So I wanted to go, I'm pretty impulsive. I used to be until I was a mom. So I decided that I was going to move to South Korea because I had a friend there that I could live with while I could teach English. Well, instead I did an internship. I lived in South Korea. Then from there, they wanted me to be the director of a center there, but they needed to build it. So when I came back to the United States, I ended up finding an internship for a center, and I went to Germany and lived for a little bit. Then
so
when I came back,
have lived in the Midwest your whole life, and then you went and lived in Korea?
Yep.
South Korea, and
South Korea.
Which is very different than North Korea. So it's good to make the differentiation. You have to back up a second. Do you speak Korean?
I used to be able to speak while I was there. I don't remember much anymore except for 감사합니다 to 오세요. Thank you, come again. So when the kids were tattletelling on each other, I'd just say, thank you, come again. And it cracked me up every time, and they'd get so mad, and then they'd laugh.
So you didn't come here for parenting tips, everybody listening, but you just got one. Okay, so gosh, so do a lot of North Koreans speak English? Like, did it work? How did you communicate?
Well, I did Camp Adventure through the University of Northern Iowa, so they were contracts with the military bases, and with the military bases, you have to employ so many of the nation that you're in. You need to employ them on your base, and then their kids can also go to the military programming. So it was probably only 30% of the kids that we had were Korean kids. The rest were American military kids.
All right. So my other question is like, so you've done a lot of nonprofit and like social work type stuff. Like, is that just like, is that in your heart? Is that just who you are? Like, that's not something people often seek out as, you know, a career path. So
no,
how did that?
I think that I kind of got into it by kind of chance. In college. I had attended this program. I was part of the Global Health Corps, and at UNI, that was a thing that would go out into different populations that usually low-income areas, and teach people about health issues and things that could help them. Well, while I was doing that, we went to a program where there was a youth program when we were teaching them about dental health and how to brush their teeth and give them toothbrushes and all that stuff. Well, while we were there was like a mini little fight with all these kids. Like, all heck broke loose. These kids start fighting, all this stuff is going on, and it was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had. But my personality is, okay, that was a really bad experience, but I feel like these kids need somebody that can help them control all of this and help them learn how to deal with some of the anger that was going on with them. So I ended up applying for a job with the program for there, and that's where I ended up working. And then I got to work with these kids, and I even ended up taking one of the kids to Washington, D.C.
Are you for real?
Yeah. I've had some really cool experiences. Just random. I think everything.
So how long did you live in Germany then when you were doing your work there?
I lived in Germany for 4 months. Then I came back here. You could live off the way that the program was. They paid for your plane ticket, they paid for your housing, and then they paid you $22 a day. Well, you could live off $22 a day in Korea, but you could not in Germany. It was just so expensive. So I had maxed out on my credit cards, and my plan was I was coming back to the United States. I was going to get my credit cards paid off, and then I was going to go to South America. I didn't know what I was going to do, but that was my plan, is where I was going to end up next. So then I got pregnant, had a kid, and life changed.
Right. So like, you're also, I mean, not to blow through all of that, but you're a single mom of an 11-year-old today, right?
Yep.
And like, not only the single mom of an 11-year-old, but the single mom of an 11-year-old that is a mixed race, which right now, and I don't want to get into too much of that if you don't want to, but some challenges right now, huh?
Right. It's just kind of a crazy world. You throw in the pandemic, on top of that, you throw in the civil unrest with all these racial issues. We've been having some interesting conversations here at home. It can be a little bit difficult for an 11-year-old to understand some of this, but we've always talked about race.
Have you?
Yes, we always have. We have since she is little, because I mean, regardless of who you are, color is color. And I mean, the thing is, you can visually see the difference. She has a dad that is brown and a mom that is peach. We like to say cream.
One of the things my now 11-year-old One of the things my now 11-year-old said to me one time was, she was telling me about a boy at school, in preschool. She was in I don't know, before preschool, daycare really. And she was telling me about this boy and explaining this, and I was trying to picture which boy it was. There wasn't very many boys in her class, you know. So I was like, well, is he that black boy? And she was like, he's not a black boy, he's a brown boy. And I was like, I just found that to be really interesting to hear from a child because she was right. She knows her colors.
Right.
And I was wrong. And I mean, not to say that saying black is necessarily wrong, but to say that like just that perspective was like really, and it's a story I've repeated 100 times over again. So you saying that is, you know, interesting. Like I am definitely not white. I actually know the exact tone of my color. Like I can tell you.
Of course you do.
Part of being a makeup artist. So that has its own challenges. So like, I would say that I don't talk to very many women that are single moms and are have like a heart for social work and nonprofit and all of the things that don't necessarily make you like a multimillionaire by far. Tell me, hey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a business. And that's what you did. Mm-hmm. And why organizing? Like, why was that the thing that spoke to you?
Well, for years, I've kind of helped friends, and I've helped friends of friends. People have always thought, hey, Jenny is super organized. The way that my brain works, I'm kind of solutions focused. I'm not one of those people that you probably just want to come to and vent with, because I'm the type of person that my brain is going to automatically come up with solutions for you. Mm-hmm. So like I tell my friends or family, if they're about to like hit me with a bunch of heavy stuff, I have to say, okay, do you want me to just listen or do you want me to come up with solutions? Because that's just how my brain works.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I enjoy doing the organizing just because you can actually visually see the before and after. Let me shut my door because this dog is killing me.
You got it. I have a cat that we all know my cat, and she gets completely up my ass sometimes when I am talking to the computer screen. She's like, oh, is there somebody up there that I need to like bite or something? So, it's not friendly fire kind of thing yet.
When I was growing up, I was messy. I was a pack rat. My mom was very organized. We had to clean like every week. Everything needed to go where it needed to go. And I always thought, I'll never be like that. Well, I'm exactly like that times like 100. It really has eased up since I became a parent, because you kind of have to ease up on that stuff. But
yeah, well, you know, and I can relate to that. And I think one thing that like messy people, artists, like we've talked about how artists are people that are just artistic in nature generally are messier. And I have had to change the way that I am. I mean, I could be a hoarder. I could be, but my husband is like, you would think he was in the military. He is so precisely like everything in its place.
That speaks to my heart.
Yeah, you guys would really do well together. And when like one of the reasons when we started dating, I told him like, we will never work because I am a mess. And he was like, oh, but I think it's cute. But let me tell you how long the cute lasted. Long. But you can change. And so two things have had to happen in our relationship. He's had to ease up on some things, some expectations of me, and I have had to improve my organization. And like having somebody help me through that has been like really, really helpful. So tell me, like, what kind of clients are you working with and what are you helping doing? Because you're not just like going into people's houses that are messy and cleaning it up. Like that's not what you do. So I kind of want you to like tell people like all the different things that you do.
No, I don't really have a specific type of client that I can say that everybody is the same, because it really is individualized. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know what I'm getting into until I get to people's homes. Usually the whole process of them getting a hold of me is even part of the process, because mm-hmm. when they get a hold of me and they set up an appointment, they already start cleaning because they're embarrassed and they don't want somebody to come over and see their mess. So part of the process is they're getting it organized already. Then I go in for a consult. That's either in their homes or I do that virtually. I've done a few more now that Rona has been around. The Rona, we like to call it at my house, the Rona. I've done a few more of those. And those really are just an accountability piece for people. People send me videos or send me pictures. And we kind of go through the process of me teaching them about organization. And that's for anybody. My consult is pretty much the same for being in person than it is being virtual. We go through some questions on what they're struggling with, and then we start going through some foundational organization things that I found have helped for almost everybody that I've worked with. Like I said, it's super individualized, so there's going to be some things that I teach that might not work for them. But as we're going through the consult, I think it helps that I worked in nonprofit for so long, because I can kind of read people and I can kind of see where they're kind of getting tripped up at.
Right.
So rather than stand in the way of their personality, I've got to come up with some ways that are going to make it successful for them so that when I'm not there, they're still going to be able to utilize these skills.
Right. And that's kind of one of the things that I've been really impressed with is like that I've known from you is that you don't like walk in and be like, your house should look like this. Like you kind of figure out how to make it work so they can keep up with it. But I suppose it's really like almost like a diet. It's like, or, you know, a lifestyle change, like that you almost have to like start small and like work your way to a place where.
Absolutely. Honestly, when I go in for a consult or I'm talking to somebody for a consult, until I start talking to them, I have no idea where we're going to start at. Yeah. Even if they've messaged me 20 times and said, here's what I'm having issues with, until I can talk to them and kind of get their personality.
Ooh, Jenny, you muted yourself. Somehow. There. Now you're back.
There we go.
Yeah. No, I get that too. And like, I would say, like, I would think that would be the hardest thing is like that first call, like getting a hold of you. That has got to be, I mean, there's got to be a real stigma in people to say, Jenny, I need you to help me. I'm a disaster. Because I mean, we don't want people to see our Monica's closet.
Well, and I think that I honestly, from almost everybody that I've said, like that has contacted me either through my Facebook or through my website, they kind of say, you know, I've been following along, wanting to get a hold of you, but I needed to build up the courage for that. I totally understand that. And that's why I'm so grateful when I talk to them. I'm like, they're like, thank you so much for all these tips and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, thank you so much for either inviting me into your home or inviting me into your world to help you, because I genuinely am happy when I get to help people. It's just kind of my personal.
And you, like, I think it's cool. You have kind of diversified what you offer because you don't just help people with, I don't know, maybe, I don't think I've ever told you this, but you don't just help people like organize their physical space, but like you help people with like getting chore charts organized for their kids based off of like their ages and like what they're maybe capable of. Cause like a lot of parents get tripped up with stuff like that. So what, like, how did that come about? And what are you helping people with as far as that vein goes?
Well, in my time in nonprofit, the majority of my time was with families and those with children, like children's programs or helping parents with parenting skills. So I think I kind of have, that's kind of my niche, is where working with kids. I think everybody has gifts, and one of my gifts is being able to get along with kids and trying to give them magic memories and moments and stuff like that. So I think with the kids, I think a lot of times parents get so tripped up on, oh, well, this is what I had to do when I grew up, or this is what they should be doing because this sheet of paper says that. Mm-hmm. Well, with my chore charts, when I help them, I talk to the family and I also talk to the kids and we talk about what's realistic for them to do. And then even just having that to have a stranger for them has seemed to help. And I also have done a couple of family team meetings where I meet with the family and with the kids and we kind of talk about why I'm there. One of the families that kind of went off into, I talked to the kids, they were younger. So I talked to them talked to them about me being a professional organizer, and then we did like a game where they were professional organizers and they had to go clean up their toy room, and they had to do it like they were professional organizers. So they were up there doing that while we were doing our thing. And it was kind of
That's
just
so
fun
smart.
to see them. Yeah.
Well, and I think kids, like everybody's motivated by something different. And, you know, like I know with my kids, what one is motivated by money and one is motivated by accomplishment. And, you know, I've had to learn how to play with that. But that, you know, I think like another unspoken thing that a lot of moms are dealing with, parents, you know, not just moms, dads, whatever, is that like that stigma of like my house feels chaotic, or I'm always yelling at my kids to like pick things up or to do their chores or whatever. And it's really like embarrassing, I would imagine, to call somebody and say, I need help getting my house in order. It feels like chaos.
And I think a lot of times, the majority of the time, it really is, we have too much stuff. We've got, I mean, yes, we live in a world where more, but like kids really can do without all the 50 toys that they get at Christmas time. And that's something, as I'm talking to parents of, is, you know, talking about experiences rather than things. Because a lot of times that clutter just brings out a lot of stress, not just for the parents, but for the kids as well. I mean,
yeah, they kind of form attachments to it, you know, like I've had issues with one of my kids getting rid of stuff when like she hasn't touched it, she hasn't played with it, it's broken, like it's garbage now. And that attachment is real with kids. So do you help with that too?
Absolutely. One of the things that we talk about, and I think it's different for people to hear about this, is we talk about there are your items fall into 4 categories. You have trash, treasure, toys, and then there's one I can't think off the top of my head. I can't remember the
I understand.
But one of the things with trash is, trash to you and to anyone else is, if you don't use it, it's broken and you don't like it. That is kind of hard for people to wrap their brains around. If you are keeping things that somebody gave you as a present and you're holding on to it because you're like, oh, Grandma Sally gave me that and I should keep that because she gave it to me. Well, if you're not using it, you don't like it, then for you it's trash. It needs to go so that it can go somewhere else in order for somebody to enjoy it. So we kind of walk through that whole process of talking about what trash is to us and looking at things differently so that you can enjoy your space and enjoy the things that are in your space.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think like at the beginning of 2019, when like Marie Kondo, is that what her name was? Maria?
Yep, Maria Kondo.
Yeah, when
I
she
don't
like
on people's floor and spark joy.
yeah, where she kind of like started to let people know like very openly. And I think the thing is like we know things maybe are not, should not be kept, but like that conversation, it's hard to let go of things for some people.
Yeah.
I definitely used to be that way, and then I shifted myself to somebody that like got rid of too much.
Yeah.
And like was constantly kicking myself that I got rid of it. And so then like you go through these phases like, well, I don't like, I'm going to need that box. That's a good box. Like
everybody, I think, loves them a good box.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's not simple or easy, but I think that, I mean, I think you bring up a lot of good things and I love that you're helping people through that. And I guess my like call out to people listening would be that there is help for this. So you do things virtually as well as like, can you do an entire like appointment with somebody virtually? Like, do you ever have to physically be in their house, or is there?
I don't have to be in their house. I actually have a client in Philadelphia that I do totally virtually. We went through the consult, and then what she likes to do is about once a month, she likes for us to talk. And then what happens is I come up with a plan for her. So then when it's time for us to have our appointment again, she'll make sure that she has all of the stuff done. And then when we talk again, we come up with more steps and like a kind of a to-do list. The other day I did an in-person session and I had planned on helping the person declutter and go through things. Well, what she really needed was me to just visually go into her space and tell her where she was going to move things, and then also give her a to-do list for herself and for her kids. So that's what we spent our hour doing, is I came up with a list of things that she needed to do, and we didn't even touch any of her stuff. And then on
Well,
her own,
yeah,
she would do it.
I can see that, because sometimes the overwhelm of where to start
Yep.
is like the real issue. Like you stand in the middle of the room and you look around and you're like, don't even know where to begin.
For a lot of people, one of the things that when I go through the consult, one of the things that I say is the most important thing is when you start to organize an area or a space or a room or whatever you're doing, you need to stay in that area. The problem that a lot of people have is that, okay, if I'm sitting at my desk right now, I'm working on this. Okay, well, here's a hair tie. I'm going to go into the bathroom, put the hair tie away. Oh, crap. There's something on the counter that I need to go put into my daughter's room because she didn't put it back like she was supposed to. So then I go into her room. Then I realize that, oh, I should probably swap out the winter clothes for the summer clothes. Okay. So then people go down this rabbit hole. And then by the time they're done, they're like, I know I did a bunch of stuff today, but I never got anything accomplished.
The mess just got bigger.
Yes. So staying in your area and focusing your time. I even have some people that I have set a timer. Okay, so every day you're going to agree with me. When we're going through the consult, they agree with me between 5 to 30 minutes a day. I want them to choose the time that they can realistically use for organizing. For some people, they have to set an alarm. Some people don't have to set a timer for that. And then it just gives them, okay, if you're just going to focus on this one drawer, you're going to get that completely done. And at the end, you start putting things where they need to go. So that's something that I think helps people the most. And we were talking about, I can go back to the virtual thing. The person that I work with in Philadelphia, I don't see her at all. We just do everything virtually. She says the thing that she likes the most is the accountability piece, is having somebody that she knows she has to answer to. She knows that I'm going to be checking in randomly and say, hey, send me pictures of that closet. Hey, did you order this? I kind of messed up with her on one thing. We don't have a Container Store here anywhere, but I'm super excited about Container Stores and stuff like that because I'm super nerdy. So I sent her to the Container Store. Well, she had almost a panic attack because it was too much.
Yeah.
So then I found out that I can't send everybody to places like that. So then what she has me do is she describes what she wants, and then I find her links, and then I send her options. So she likes that too, because it's part of what I do in between our sessions is send her some links for stuff that she could use to be more organized.
Yeah. And I think that stuff is like, I get overwhelmed by that every single time. On what to put things in or where to start. And I think it sounds to me like no different than like a nutrition coach or a business coach or somebody that just like checks in with you and makes sure that you're good, or, and that you're doing the things, you're keeping your integrity to yourself, more or less. Like, this is what I agree to do. And I think we're really, it's really easy to put our own stuff like that off, whether, as parents or business owners or whatever. It's really easy to put your own organization. But like, I would imagine you find out that 100% of the time, that peace of mind that things are organized, like, gives people that much more room to accomplish the rest of their goals. Yeah.
Well, I just love when I get those text messages or those pictures or a phone call or an email or whatever it is of, oh, I just love my space. It feels so much better. And usually, even if I only meet with somebody one time, I still have follow up with them and keep in contact with them. And I mean, when I worked in the nonprofit field, part of me going away from nonprofit, deciding that I wanted to get into my own business, is that I was working 60 hours a week. I was on call 24/7. I was getting calls in the middle of the night. It was just too stressful, not just it was stressful no matter what, but on top of that, I'm a single mom who's trying to spend time with my kid.
Yeah.
So I'm always getting interrupted with my time with my daughter. Well, now I get interrupted and it's like, oh my gosh, Ella, look what they did with their space.
Yeah.
And we get super excited about it. So it starts a domino effect of I go there and I help them, where we're doing a consult or going through what they need to work on. And then they just get this momentum where it kind of trickles into other areas too.
Yeah, well, I love that. And I have to tell you, like, you've done an amazing job, and you were so prepared. And most entrepreneurs are like previous Jenny, where they just like take off and go to Korea. But you, like, I love the way that you did it, and you really proved that like you could calculatedly go into business for yourself, and start to make those dreams come true. And I know it's not been easy. Like, I
No,
know.
and I think for me, that's kind of my personality, but it seems super impulsive. But as you saw from our meeting, like, there is the background of, I did all the hard work before. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making lists, I'm looking things up, I'm researching all this stuff. It seems super impulsive to people that, oh, you just quit your job after 18 years in the field and now you're doing this. Well, I did have a plan. Was it scary? Heck yeah, it was scary. And then all of this stuff happened with COVID, and it was like, oh my goodness, did I make the right decisions? Every day it's kind of a toss up of, okay, I'm doing okay, considering everything that's going on, to, oh my gosh, I need to get a real job.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've been in business for myself in some way, shape, or form since 2007, and I still go through that. Like,
Yeah.
F it. I mean, I have all as much as like got on LinkedIn, and I'm like, what is available?
Right?
Because I am a damn good employee to myself. But like, when you have like a real heart for something, it really shows, and it does feel different. Work feels different when you're,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Like, every time I get to go help somebody, or every time I'm on the phone with somebody, I mean, I'm laughing, I'm enjoying it. Like, there are times, I had one person tell me I could have been tougher on her, and okay, that's fine. But I already think I am tough, because when I'm in person with somebody, I'm helping them make those tough decisions quick. We're not going to sit here and think about it for 10 minutes. We're not going to, oh, should I? Nope, I need you to make a decision right now. Then we're going to move on.
Yeah. Well, and I
So
mean,
I
they pay you by the hour, I'm assuming, for
Yeah.
these.
And I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Right.
And I tell people, there was my very first paying customer. She was actually an 18-year-old girl. She had contacted me through Facebook and said that she wanted help organizing her house. She had some roommates. I'm going to be honest, when I got there, she had organized so much, there was nothing left for me to do. So I get there, and she's showing me all this stuff that she did, and I'm giving her all these kudos. Oh my goodness, you did so great. Then we go to sit down to do my thing, and I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, you've done so much. I can't ethically have you pay me for being here. And she was like, what? And I was like, you have done so much. I can give you a couple of suggestions, but I don't feel comfortable having you pay me for this. Well, then we started talking about some of her things that she had going on. Well, it kind of turned into a life coaching session. We made a to-do list of the things that she needed to do. She had just moved here from North Carolina. We ended up talking about her needing to do a change of address, getting a new license. It really turned into just kind of organizing, not her home, but kind of organizing her life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all one and the same. Your hairstylist may polish your head, but they end up polishing the rest of your life too, while you're sitting there chatting things out. And sometimes you just need to bounce things off of other people. So that's awesome that worked out. I just love what you have going on. And I'm so grateful for your support with you conferences and being a part of it. And, you are one of the first people that ever came to me and said, I attended one of your conferences and now I'm going to do something big and change my life. And, that was like, I mean, it was all you, but like, it's a really great feeling when somebody says, I made a decision. Now, don't get me wrong. Then I have the weight of like, oh my God, I hope this works out for her. I hope. What if she falls flat on her face?
I kept seeing before I went to the first conference, I've been to two. Before I went to the conference, I reached out and told you, hey, I am in a transition right now. I had actually been on a medical leave of absence from work. I kind of had a point in time where life was a little bit too much for me, and I kind of needed to take a step back and reprioritize things. So I took a break from work, and I was at home, and I kept seeing in my Facebook feed, I kept seeing this conference, and I'm like, I'm all about women. I'm all about like empowering each other, doing these things. And I'm like, but it's for business owners. I don't own a business. I don't have any intention of owning a business. This just isn't going to be my thing. And I don't really like small talk. So you go to a networking event, and I'm one of those introverts that people think, oh, she's so outgoing. Oh my gosh, it's so exhausting for me to do small talk. So I go to this conference, and while I'm there, I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, every time I would go to a different workshop, I'd be in there, I'd be like, I could do this. I really think I can do this. Like, she's talking about the steps for this, and I'm writing things frantically down. And I'm like, I really think that I could do this. And that's where I think within that same week, I had already applied for my employee identification number. I had already looked on how to get things registered. I looked into all of that stuff just from going to that conference.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a feather in our hat that I will take every day of the week, because I mean, that's what we're there for, is to give people the confidence to go after the things that they want. And for some people, it's business ownership. For some people, it's just a little bit more confidence, and it's, you know, feeling better about the situation they're in. You know, many people that attend the conference are employees, and like they use it as like team building things, and all of that is so good. But it just goes to the core of who we are. We need a support group to make things happen. And
I think it's so important that it's a women's event for women, because we just have a different scope of view and a lens that we look through, that I think it just feels so good to be able to be confident and empowered by other women that are strong and doing their thing. They're doing the damn thing, and that's what all of them were doing. And it was just a place where you can just kind of feel that energy just kind of rubs off on you. I mean, even the intro for me was like, oh my gosh, I even did a video at the end when Sarah said, hey, go make your video. I never do that. And here I am sitting in the crowd making my video.
Yeah, well, that was awesome. And we appreciate the feedback, or, you know, I certainly do, like, you know, doing this conference all together, like creating it and building it and growing it and trusting other people to be a part of it. And all of that has all been like a growth and learning opportunity for me. And there's a lot of times I want to give up. I'm like, to hell with it. Is this even worth it? But then like stories like yours come back, and I'm like, this is why you do what you do. And my personality type, it's hard for me to accept, like that helping other people is like a life purpose, because my personality type says that making billions of dollars is your life purpose, and there's nothing else. So it's, you know, it's really humbling, and it really goes to show like the power of helping other people and how much that is worth, you know, to make your life have purpose. And that's been very cool. So thanks for giving that to me. And for being a part of you conferences. We're excited to hear from you. We'll be hearing from you very soon, and that's very exciting. So
I'm excited about it. That's part of one of the things people don't know, is that I also, the reason I call my business Hodgepodge of Helpfulness is that I genuinely do have the most random skill set. So I think that, you know, coming up with the chore charts, and then also I've done a couple of kid events where I do a thing called Camp Barnett, and we do some activities, we do some learning things. I just really am a hodgepodge of stuff that I can do. So one of the things that I'm hoping that once life turns back to where we can be around people more, I would really like to make sure that I'm getting my voice out there, and I want to do workshops and things like that, so that I can get to bigger groups of people. Because I think that a lot of times I know how to connect, and I want to make sure. And
you're hilarious. Let's just face it.
That's my favorite compliment.
I know. And I didn't really realize that about you until I got to know you, and I was like, oh my God, she's so funny.
Thank you. It's my favorite compliment. That'll keep me going for like 2 weeks.
That's me too. I mean, you could tell me I'm pretty, you could tell me I'm smart, you could tell me that all these other things, but tell me I'm funny, and I'm like,
you know I am.
So good. Oh God. Well, anyway, I'll let you go on with the rest of your day. We're probably over our time. Not that we have a real time set, but Lord knows Lord knows I've got a child sitting on the other side of this door for the last 10 minutes, standing there waiting for me to stop talking. Like as if I'm going to, like she couldn't get anything else done. She's standing there with empty cans of water that need to go in recycling, and God knows what she has to ask me, but running up there and putting in recycling in this 10 minutes wouldn't make any sense. Come help us, Jenny.
Got you. I got you if you need me.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much. I love learning about your business. And hey, thanks also for being a voice during everything that's going on during this pandemic, both for entrepreneurs and people with family of color, and, you know, helping us see all sides of this conversation. Like, that's really important too. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right. I'm going to try to hit the stop recording, stop live stream. Got that. And I'm going to stop recording here. You can say there. Whoops. Stop.